So you've heard a little bit from Lexi and from others about overdose prevention. It is a key topic. It is something we all need to be aware of. And frankly, it's something I wish that I had known on this journey a few years ago. Today, I am the proud carrier of a little packet in my purse that has something in it called naloxone, or maybe you've heard of it called Narcan. And I picked this up 2 years ago. Fortunately, I've not had to use it in 2 years, but as I said, over the past 5 or 6 years before that, it wasn't available to me. I didn't have it, and boy, oh boy, did I need it. So Lexi is going to tell us a little bit about naloxone and give us a quick demonstration on how to use it. It is life-saving. I'll throw in one opinion here. I think that saving a life from an overdose is probably one of the most opportunistic moments that we will ever have, because it is a time that is critical. It is probably the one and only time that that person is going to listen to you, that they are the most vulnerable and the most receptive to help and treatment. So if you ever get the chance to save a life, do it. It is going to be pivotal, whether in that moment or in the days, weeks, and months ahead. Naloxone saves lives. That's my commercial, and Lexi's going to tell us how.
Thanks, Rose. Again, it's just an honor and a privilege to be here, so thank you all for showing up, because the way that we get things done is in community. It is a we thing. I have a really big bio. None of it means anything because I didn't do any of it alone. So these are naloxone kits. I want to just tell you that I'm going to talk through this really, really fast because I have 10 minutes, and normally I would do this kind of conversation in about an hour and 15 or 45 minutes. So I'm going to talk fast. Okay, first I want to let you know there's resources for you out there on the GoBe table to link with us at the Steve Rumler Hope Foundation. We give these kits out to hospitals for them to give out of their EDs, their emergency departments, for free to anybody and their family members who look like they're even remotely potentially going to overdose on any kind of opioid, right? And then we do this in partnership with first responders across our entire state. We are the resource for all first responders across our entire state. We do this with treatment facilities and sober living facilities. So if you have a sober living facility or a treatment facility in your community or a hospital or a first responder, call us because we'll make sure that they get kits, okay? Then the other place is we do this in community. So we go to people's homes, we go to churches and rotaries, and anybody that will have us pretty much, right, Gloria? We'll go there and we'll help you be educated about how to recognize an opioid overdose, what to do, and then hopefully how to have conversations and stay calm and work with your first responders. And anytime somebody almost dies, which is what's happening when you overdose on an opioid, and an opioid is a prescription painkiller or heroin, they're essentially the same thing. I'm guessing Dr. Johnson's going to talk about that, so I'm not going to take the time to. But they are the same thing. Same thing. Just keep that in mind. Same thing. Okay. So if you need more information on that, go to the GoBe table and you can get my card, or you can get these sheets that say where we support community. Oh, we also just partnered with Drug Court. So can I get a woo-woo on that? I know, we're doing these trainings in Drug Court in Hennepin County. That's the coolest thing ever. All right, so there's 3 different methods that you can administer naloxone. They're all the same. They're equally effective. Does not matter which one you use. They're all the same. They're equally effective, okay? One is the nasal, and we don't have the nasal. We do not have a partnership with the company that makes the nasal, so we cannot give it out. These 2 other forms, intermuscular and the Evzio Kaleo product, which is kind of an auto-injector, we have relationships with those companies to be able to put these kits together for community members for $25 a kit. We do take donations at the Steve Rumler Hope Foundation. Just a little plug there. Okay, so I'm going to demo both of those for you, all right? And there are steps that you are going to take. Each of our kits has really great public health practice stuff in it, all right? So first, we have a how-to card that is going to tell you exactly what to do. This stuff is not rocket science. It's a no-brainer. Anybody can do it, all right? So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to check. You're going to check signs and symptoms. Are they breathing? You're going to do a sternal rub. Try and elicit a pain response. If there's no response, then you're going to go to step 2. Step 2 is call 911. Anytime anybody has almost died, which is what's happening when you have an opioid overdose, you want to get further medical care. It's important to remember the using community, the people that are actively addicted may not want to go to the hospital. You can tell them, if you had a heart attack, dude, you'd go, right? So you want to go. Okay. The dude was my conversation with a using person. That was kind of being hip. Okay. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to give rescue breaths. And there's a way to do that. This is not CPR. This is just rescue breaths. And we can talk about that when you come to a training, because every single one of you can carry naloxone. Steve's Law, which passed in 2014, allows every single layperson citizen in the state of Minnesota, in good faith, to save a life, to carry this and administer it. My 13-year-old daughter could administer this to anyone that she does not know. Steve's Law also allows prescribers, any doctor, any advanced practitioner nurse, any dentist, to write you a prescription for naloxone third party. So where can you get it? You can get it from the Steve Rumler Hope Foundation. You can get it from your doctor's office. If your doctor doesn't know about the ability to prescribe third party, this is a change in statute, other drugs they can't do this with, you should have them call me. Or you call me and we'll have the conversation to educate them, okay? So we're to step 3, airway. You're gonna give 2 rescue breaths. Then we are to step 4, all right? They have not revived. I'm gonna demonstrate for you. Do you wanna be my assistant? Yeah. Come on, Laura. Let's give Laura a round of applause. All right, Laura. You're gonna hold the orange for me? All right, so in the kits, we have, Laura, what are these?
Gloves.
We have gloves, because we're gonna practice good public health and safety, all right? So you're gonna put the gloves on before you administer. We also have a breathing barrier device. So if you feel inclined before you give the rescue breaths to put on the breathing barrier, you can do that. The next thing we would do after we put on our gloves is that we would expose the skin, and this is good public health practice. You would use the alcohol wipe to clean the skin. These can go through clothing, and they can, you don't need to get skin, but if you're gonna give it through clothing, you wanna pat down and make sure there's not a cell phone. If it's like you're giving it into their glute or their thigh, you wanna make sure there's not a bunch of change in their pocket. The next thing that you're going to do after you've gotten skin, and the places that you're gonna do it are big muscle bellies, so the glute, the shoulder, the thigh, is after you've wiped with the alcohol, you're going to get your needle and your naloxone. So we have 2 of these in every kit. You may have to give a second dose. So after you've gone through the process of giving 1 dose, you're going to then continue with your rescue breaths, and after 2 minutes, if they have not responded, you're gonna give a second dose. You've called 911, so hopefully ambulance is showing up soon, and they're gonna assist you further. All right, so Laura, the next thing we're going to do is there's a little orange cap on our naloxone. We're gonna take that off, and we are going to open our needle. All right? This is what we give out of hospitals, is this exact kit. It is very safe and easy for lay people to use. You're going to remove the cap. Then what you're going to do is you're going to pull it down to the 1 milliliter mark. I'm not gonna have you hold it. The needle is really super sharp, so you don't want to, you maybe just wanna have it down. You push it through. Then you're gonna push air in to the vial. Then you have to bring the needle down so that it's under the liquid. And then you let go of the syringe bottom. It sucks the liquid in, for lack of better technical term. Dr. Johnson, is there a technical term for that? Forget it. I was a kid. Sorry. I'd like to keep some humor in this because it is a really intense thing, right? We're saving a life with this. All right. So Laura is going to demonstrate for you. This orange is the glute of a human being. It feels, the reason why we practice with oranges is because it feels quite a bit like giving an injection, going through the orange skin. So Laura, you're gonna take the needle, you're going to inject it first into the orange. Now push in. She has just saved a life. Okay? The needles that we give out with our kits, we have this little green thing on there so that in case you don't have a Sharps unit available, this covers the needle. Then when the first responders get there, you give them the needle. All right, I'm gonna have Laura demo our number 2. All right, same steps, same things that you're going to do. This is the Kaleo product, Evzio. This product, you can get this from your doctor, you can get it through insurance. I believe if you have MA, you can get it for $26 a package. If you do not have MA, every insurance company is different. This costs roughly $3,500 right now. We are really, really lucky to have this company partner with us to be able to put the kits together for $25 a kit. It's incredible, their generosity, and we're so grateful. This runs anywhere from $18 to $40 a vial. So this is an issue. We need to see that come down a little bit. So you'd go through the same exact steps, and then this is our tester. This has no needle or drug in it. It's gonna talk her through what to do in the same exact way that the live one would, except for this one won't say, this is a tester. It has no needle or drug. It just walks you through the steps. All right, so come stand by the mic. This is so simple that I'm gonna let her do it. You've never done this before, right? Okay, so this is not rocket science. Anyone can do this, and you all have the right to carry this today, right now. If you know someone who's on opioids, even if they take them as prescribed, if they're on benzodiazepines, Valium, or if they drink alcohol, they're at risk for an opioid overdose. Prescription painkillers are deadly. So you need to have this for your family, okay? Some 27,000 Americans overdosed and died from prescription drugs, from being prescribed opioids in 2014. Only 10,000 some overdosed and died from street heroin, okay? So we need to start thinking about that. We should stop taking them, and we should, only in end of life or cancer pain, okay? Or when extremely necessary, I guess. All right, so stand here where the mic can pick it up, and then go ahead and let it walk you through.
This trainer contains no needle or drug.
I'll tell you.
If you are ready to use, pull off red safety guard.
Pull hard.
If not ready to inject, place black end against outer thigh.
Just to your shoulder.
Then press firmly and hold in place for 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Injection complete.
All done. Saved a life. Okay? Thank you very much. If you have more questions or if you want us to come train you, please let me know. We'll be there. 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 We'll be there.
We've talked a lot about parents today. We've talked about the role parents play, some strengths, some weaknesses. Today we have incredible opportunity to hear from a parent that I've been honored to get to know over the last couple years. She has shared her story and her son's story with us. in so many different situations, and it is incredible. Every time I get something different out of her story and her son's story. And so Lori Lewis is going to come forward and share with us her story and her son's story. Let's please welcome Lori Lewis as she comes forward.
Hello. On July 10th of 2014, my son Ryan died of a heroin overdose. He struggled with the disease of addiction for 1.5 to 2 years, an addiction that began with opiates and moved to heroin. The progression was rapid. Never would I have thought that I would be sharing a story like this, but my husband and I, along with our children, feel that if it can help one family or one individual, that we'll share. I'd like to share Ryan's story, our story, in hopes that it brings awareness to our communities that this wicked drug heroin is here, as well as other opiates. There's no town that hasn't been affected by heroin, and our loved ones are using this, and they are dying. It can happen to any one of us, as you've heard throughout this presentation. It can start by using pain meds for a simple medical or dental procedure, or with the recreational use of pain meds, and it can easily and quickly lead to addiction. The scary thing is these drugs are just a tweet, text, or Snapchat away, and they can be brought directly to your door or place of employment. Ryan was the oldest of our 4 children. He was just 23 years old. If you ask anyone to describe Ryan, they would tell you he was intelligent, artistic, energetic. He had a goofy sense of humor and a passion for music. He was so much fun to be around. You knew when Ryan was around, just his presence. He was loud, he was obnoxious. He was like a freight train coming through our house. Ryan excelled in music, art, and photography, and he was most content when he was playing guitar, painting, drawing, or taking pictures. Ryan's substance use began towards the end of his junior year at Tartan in 2008. We had suspected he had been smoking pot, and this proved to be right. At that time, we entered Ryan into a 30-day treatment program at New Connections. He attended school there and treatment during the day. After the 30 days, he returned to Tartan to finish out his junior year. He graduated in 2009, and the next few years were uneventful. In December of 2012, Ryan's girlfriend had called. They had been living together for about a year. She had stated that Ryan was feeling a little depressed, and she was worried about him. Ryan then called, stating that nothing was going right, and he just wanted to end everything, and nothing was worth anything anymore. I immediately drove over and realized the situation was not good, and I convinced him to go to the ER. It was during that ER visit that we learned that Ryan had opioids and benzos in his system. He had social anxiety, so the benzos I did understand, but the opioids, where did he get them? Well, one of the places he got them from was me. I had had back surgery a year earlier, and he had taken them, all the leftover pain meds. We did not have them locked up, and why didn't we? These medications kill, guns kill, we locked those up. We didn't think we had to. We didn't think we had to worry about it. Again, not my kid, not my family. How could this have happened, we ask ourselves over and over. We addressed the issues with Ryan, and he told us that he had not been happy with things for a while, and things were financially difficult, and asked if he and his girlfriend could move in for a couple of months, and so we agreed. Within the month they moved in, and things were rocky as they had to follow rules. We had other kids that had to get up for school, we had to get up for work, just the usual rules. In the months that followed, Ryan seemed to get angry and irritated more easily. It was hard to even have a conversation with him. Again, we had questioned the substance use, and he denied. I had also noticed that he was often ill with flu-like symptoms in the morning, and that he got better in the afternoon, but I never put all these pieces together that they were withdrawal symptoms. And how could I miss this? I'm a nurse. Again, I would ask him all kinds of questions, how you could be so ill in the morning and better in the afternoon. No one gets better that quickly. Ryan finally got tired of all of our questions from us and his girlfriend, and he moved out, and they broke up. This was difficult for us because we had no way of knowing where he was, if he was safe, what he was doing. One day, Ryan brought his clothes over to do the wash, and I thought I'd be nice and start the laundry for him. I went to grab the items out of the wash to put them in the dryer, and I felt something in his sock. I pulled out a needle. I didn't get it. Why was this in his sock? I called Ryan, but no answer. I called his girlfriend and asked if she knew anything about this at all. She had actually been talking to his roommate and friend that morning, and his friend had told her that he was acting strange and that he suspected Ryan was doing heroin. How could this be? This was a kid who literally cried in the nurse's office every year when he had to get a flu shot up until the time he was 17 years old. How could he be using IV drugs? We couldn't wrap our heads around this, but we knew we had to get him help. We moved Ryan back home and made a visit to St. John's ER. The ChemDep counselor recommended inpatient treatment at that time, and there were no beds available in the Twin Cities. To hear that when you're in crisis mode and when you are expecting to get help and to find out there are no beds, we were scared to death. So we brought Ryan home and helped him through his withdrawal symptoms and literally watched him through the weekend 24 hours. We didn't let him out of our sight, and it was exhausting. On Monday, we got him into St. John's intensive outpatient treatment along with AA meetings several nights a week. During the second week of outpatient treatment, we got a call that Ryan was in the ER. He was having withdrawal symptoms, which meant he was using while in treatment. St. John's again recommended inpatient treatment and would not accept him back because of the use. My husband and I were not on the same page for the recommendation option. I wanted him to be admitted, and my husband and Ryan felt that we could get through this together with AA meetings, counseling, and outpatient treatment at Canvas. And so we went this route for a while and had random UAs done and had him check in with us multiple times a day. This did work for a few weeks, and Ryan again relapsed. At this point, I couldn't stand by and watch this anymore, and I contacted a counselor at St. John's and asked for help. Because again, this happened on a Friday, our only option was another ER visit and a 72-hour hold. We did not want to do this, and instead stayed home again the entire weekend and watched Ryan around the clock. He went with us everywhere. He slept in the same room. We stood outside an open bathroom door. On Monday, we got him in for a ChemDep assessment, and after many hours and much red tape, there was a bed open, and we were able to have Ryan admitted to Hazleton in Plymouth. By now, it was early October. Our son was safe for the time being. We were exhausted. And during this time, all of our energy was focused on Ryan and keeping him safe and in recovery. Our other 3 children lacked our attention. And what they did receive was a little bit that we have left, and most of that time, that wasn't much. We didn't have the patience for even the smallest thing, not any of their needs. There were times when I would lay down in bed at night and ask my husband if the other kids were even home and safe in bed. This disease affects the entire family, and it's so isolating. During his first day at Hazleton, we all attended a 4-day parent and sibling group. We learned much about this disease. After 28 days at Hazleton, Ryan had gained 23 pounds. He was back to his old self. He was fun, and he was in recovery. Within the week, he had relapsed. In fact, we would find out later that he had used the same night he came home. So back he went for another 14 days. This time, Hazleton Center City for adults had an opening, and they felt it would be better for Ryan to be with adults. After that discharge, Ryan had been in recovery for approximately 5 weeks when I received a call from my daughter stating that her car wouldn't start. So I told her to go downstairs and ask Ryan if he could give her a ride. Within minutes, she had called me back frantic. She had me on one line and 911 on the other. Ryan had overdosed. She had found him unresponsive, blue, and barely breathing. He was brought to Regions ER, where I met them. And as I sat in the room with Ryan, reminding him to breathe every time the cardiac alarm went off, I just felt helpless. How do I help my son? What is his rock bottom because I've hit mine? When his dad got to the ER, we talked to the doctors, nurses, and counselors and asked them what we could do. They told us to tell him he could not come home and that we should leave the ER and he needed to find a place to stay. To hear this was hard as parents because it goes against everything you know as parents. But we told him this and we left. This was unbearable, but we went home and packed a bag and left it by the front door. Ryan did show up at home that night and thought he was going to stay. It was hard to stick to our guns, but we did and told him he had to leave. And that was a January that it was bitter, bitter cold. Neither my husband or I slept that night wondering where he was and if he was safe. Ryan called a day or two later and asked if he could come home, and our terms were he could, but he had to go back to treatment. He reluctantly agreed. Again, we felt relieved that Ryan was in treatment and safe. Ryan was in recovery for longer this time, but the relapses were more severe. During recovery, Ryan and his girlfriend got back together. He was hanging out with friends again, having fun with his siblings, making music, drawing, painting, and laughing. Our Ryan was back, and it was good to see this. After discharge, he was attending intensive outpatient treatment at Hazelton, going to AA meetings and working his program. Brian so very much wanted to get better. When I asked him what was so hard and what I could do to help him, he just said, "Mom, the physical and psychological cravings are just unbearable at times." And this is when he was receiving Vivitrol injections. It was around the end of May when I suspected that Ryan was using again, and we confronted him. He had been slipping on his meetings and did not want to continue attending day treatment. We were right. As parents, we were at our wits' end, exhausted, in need of help for our son. Again, he went back into Hazelton at the beginning of June. This time we told Ryan that what we were doing at home was not helping, and on the advice of his counselors, he'd need to move into a sober house. He was extremely angry and would not talk to us for about a week. When he and my husband did talk one night, Ryan said, "Dad, am I ever gonna get better?" And my husband said, "Yep, we're gonna get through this together, buddy. We can do it." On Monday, July 7th, my husband picked him up from Hazelton and helped him move into the sober house in St. Paul. He was very angry with us and decided not to talk to us that day or night. We gave him time, and on Tuesday, he called to talk. On Wednesday, I picked Ryan up after I got off of work, brought him some clothes, and we went grocery shopping. We talked about how things were going and made plans for the next day. I gave him a hug and a kiss, told him I loved him, and how good he looked. On Thursday afternoon, I received a call about 12:30 from a man who identified himself as a St. Paul police officer and asked if he could come to his work and talk to me. I didn't understand why, but my mind started racing. Where are my kids, my husband? Where's Ryan? Couldn't be Ryan. He's safe. He's in a sober house. I just asked him to please tell me what happened if it was one of my kids. And he had told me Ryan had overdosed. Ryan overdosed before, so what did that mean? I asked him again, not wanting to hear what he said, and then he told me that my son had died that morning of a heroin overdose. I just kept screaming no over and over and over again. This wasn't supposed to happen. He was supposed to be in a sober house in recovery. We were supposed to work through this together. The officer met me and drove me to my car. He told me they had talked to my husband and gave me as many details as they could. On the way home, I was in shock. My phone rang and rang and rang with my husband on the other end, but I couldn't answer and talk to him. This wasn't the way it was supposed to be. Ryan was supposed to be in recovery, get the job he so hoped for, marry the love of his life, all those first. He was robbed and we were robbed, and there's such a void in our life. As parents, we feel that we have failed him. We couldn't protect Ryan. But our healthcare system failed him as well, and our family is still frustrated by this. His treatment was not individualized, but rather followed a set process. And as you've heard, one size does not fit all. There were roadblocks every single step of the way from the time we called in crisis to try and get in somewhere. There was not continuity of care, which you've heard is a struggle here today too. There was gaps in information or lack of information, and lack of knowledge of available resources and providers for us. I requested all of Ryan's progress notes from all of his inpatient stays and outpatient stays, and every single provider progress note stated at the bottom, at high risk for relapse, and yet he was still discharged. So there is much room for improvement here. As you've heard today, the face of addiction has changed. It can be any one of us. No longer can we say this will never happen to me, because it can and it does. No one chooses to become addicted. They choose to use that drug that first time, and that drug chooses them. We as a community need to recognize this, educate ourselves, and support people that suffer from this disease, like anyone who has cancer, diabetes, or other heart conditions, chronic diseases. We need to take action, and we need to make change happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lori, for your courage, your bravery, your willingness to be vulnerable in this audience. and to continue to advocate and speak out on this issue. All right, we have one panel left. We have another sponsor that I would like to highlight at this time. Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge is, along with Melrose, is a gold level sponsor here for this conference. And so we're going to hear from Gina Evans in just a moment, but we've got a little video for you to watch first, and then Gina's going to come up and talk a little bit about Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge before we move into our final panel.
I just don't fit in with anybody.
It's like I'm always alone, even when I'm with people.
Nobody cares what happens to me.
I'm done trying because there's no point.
I wish my parents just leave me alone. I feel like I just hate everybody in my life.
Argumentative,
disrespectful,
not doing well in school.
made home life rough.
We knew we had to be out of our house. It was just not working at all.
It didn't matter what we were doing. We knew that we needed something different.
Lakeside Academy is designed to help boys ages 14 through 18 who are struggling with behavioral issues leading to failing grades, damaged relationships, and/or substance abuse.
There's an influx of emotions, a wide variety of emotions that parents go through. There's that excitement of them starting a new phase, a new chapter in their life. There's those parents that are scared about day-to-day life and what that's going to look like for each of the individual boys. But there's that overall joy and peace once a boy has actually been dropped off at the facility.
That day that we interviewed Luke, I was on a construction project. I'm a general contractor. And the gentleman that I hired that went through the adult program, he was rejoicing. I'm in despair. Mike is rejoicing, and he said, "You just saved his life. You don't have any idea. You're going to save his life."
It's a great little community. They love our son. We can just tell. We walk in and they hug us. We're on a hugging basis with most of the people here.
The relationship with my family now is awesome. My parents have always been there for me. We've never been this close before in our lives. We've come to realize that, that they are my parents and that they love me and they would do anything for me. And that's what kind of motivated me to really want to change, and that I need to think about my future and not the past anymore. I can't live in that time anymore. I need to move on and grow up. This isn't a game.
He's just so much more respectful and kind and caring, and he talks. He used to come into the house and go right up to his bedroom, and now he sits down and he talks to us.
Yeah, he talks.
It's so awesome.
This place is worth it.
I'm starting to feel accepted, like I really fit in.
This place has really helped me grow up.
My parents are proud of me again. I'm becoming the man I'm supposed to be.
My parents say they got me back.
Lori, I just would like to say thank you again for sharing your story and continuing to share your son's story. And I just want to apologize from our industry that we failed your family. And we're working really hard towards making sure that stuff doesn't happen anymore. So, thank you. Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge, I'm just blessed to work there. My title is Community Outreach Director, and what that means is that myself and my team go out into the community and meet with young people and adults in jail settings, in detox settings, trying to help them access treatment services. That's something that Teen Challenge does to advocate for treatment for people that are in need. We have a lot of treatment services available at Teen Challenge. Lakeside Academy is our newest program. It's for teen boys ages 14 to 18. It is a year-long program, and it's very heavy on character development and cognitive behavioral. We do offer treatment services out there, but the boys that we serve don't necessarily have to have a chemical dependency issue. They can be seen for behavioral issues, and we're seeing some luck with kids that have been adopted and have pretty serious behavior issues. We're getting a license out there for residential youth treatment. We offer it out there right now, but not on site. So the boys see counselors, they work with their deans, and they're doing a lot of hands-on stuff, like you saw in the video, making birdhouses and doing chores. And because of the nature of our program, we're an academy first, and so a lot of our boys end up getting more than a year of school done in the year that they're with us. They made those birdhouses and they got high school credit for it. They help mow the lawn, and we work through some of that stuff with them. They get it's called experiential learning, and we're licensed to be able to give them college credits for that, along with the teacher that we have on site, and we do some online schooling as well. And so we really do our best to get the families involved, and 4 times a year the families are required. We have some kids from out of state, and the families are required to come and do family counseling to work through any family issues that might be underlying. That's just one of our programs. We also work with teen boys 16 and 17 and teen girls 16 and 17 in our life renewal program. That program is our licensed Rule 31 dual diagnosis program. We have programs in Minneapolis, Duluth, Brainerd, Rochester, and our teen boys program is in Buffalo. We offer a really wide spectrum, wide range of treatment options, starting from outpatient services in Minneapolis, Duluth, and Brainerd, where people don't have to leave their jobs or move out of their homes, but can just come and do treatment 3 nights a week with individualized counseling. The other program that we offer is a short-term license program that runs 14 to 90 days, and we're in network for most major insurance providers. The one thing that is really cool about my job, well, let me finish. We also have a long-term program that's a year-long, which is very unique. Each client that comes into our year-long program is given an individualized treatment plan, and they work through contracts and issues that are very specific to them, including abandonment and rejection and sex trafficking, and they work with their counselors to come up with a plan, like what are their things. And the cool thing about our long-term program is that we really believe that drugs and alcohol are the Band-Aid that people use for what's really going on, and we want to get to them core issues. What is it that they need individually? And as a graduate of the program, I graduated in 2004 after 15 years of IV meth use, 12 felony convictions, and 3 trips to prison. Teen Challenge saved my life, and not just my life, but thank you. But my family's life as well. My children don't use drugs, and they saw that through my struggle and through our faith. Teen Challenge is a faith-based program. Our long-term program is. That is what made the difference in my life. But recovery comes in different varieties and in different ways to everyone. And so I know at Teen Challenge we do a lot of work with other treatment programs in other communities with professional networks to really link arms and get the right kids and the right adults in the right beds for a program that's the best fit for them. And so thank you all for coming. Teen Challenge has a booth in the back. We are looking for LADCs as well as some of the other vendors that are here, so please take a peek around if you're looking for a job. And thank you all for coming, and thank you, Adam and team, for putting this together. You guys did a great job. And thank all of you for coming.